In my research of the Nosferatu, I came across a character. Now, a lot of times when you're looking into Vampire the Masquerade stuff and just general World of Darkness, you're going to come across names of historical figures, mythological characters, or entities from fairy tales, gods, things like that. Usually, this is just the basic case of a vampire taking up their name, or they were a mage of some sort, like fun fact, Alan Turing was a wizard. And of course, it goes back and forth if they're actually a well-written character or interesting. One I came across in doing my Nosferatu video, which I would recommend maybe go watching that first. It's not like there's anything that's going to keep you from understanding the Baba Yaga if you don't. You just might gain some extra context. But the Baba Yaga is one of the Nosferatu characters. She's a 4th generation kindred, and she is pretty cool. I gotta be super honest, I like her story. I have some criticisms. I think they did a good job at transcribing her pretty spooky nature from fairy tales. Which, first and foremost, who is the Baba Yaga? I did my normal thing of researching in our real world historical mythological counterpart, and Baba Yaga is a fairy tale witch up in like Russia, Ukraine. She is a very ugly hag, magic. She's got some other fun details like her house is on chicken legs, she flies in a mortar and pestle instead of on a broomstick. Her morality is hit or miss. Sometimes she's just, you know, a crotchety old woman who wants you to be polite to her, and if you don't, she'll eat you. Or she's just an actual evil person. It depends. The thing you really learn when looking up stuff about the Baba Yaga and the history of her as a character is that it's not consistent, as well as just her general description. She's described as being very old, very ugly. Some features have different prominence for her, like she's just remarkably ugly, she's hunchback, she has a big nose. One I found says she has a particularly ugly vulva. Some Russian writer was going crazy for that one. I do think it's very funny to write a villain monster character and then just throw in a weird detail like that. That's like going on about like, oh yeah, Emperor Palpatine, he's an evil, mad space wizard, also his dick is small. But when it comes to World of Darkness, the Baba Yaga is a Nosferatu, or I guess technically a Ntuku. I hate pronouncing that word. I want to say Nkutu, it's Nick Tuku. I hate it. Mainly because she was turned by Absimiliad way back in the day, like 5000 BCE. In all accounts of the Baba Yaga beforehand, she was a witch. She had her magic that seemed to be tied to nature itself. In her region up in Russia, she could do a lot of crazy things, which she would then soon practice when Absimiliad, the antediluvian of the Nosferatu, came up to Russia. He went there to hunt and be evil. The Baba Yaga was trying to defend her land. She fought against him, and the magic she used is described as, you know, controlling the animals, the plants, controlling the earth itself, controlling the rivers and creeks to attack him. She apparently, like, infused her hands with sunlight powers to go punch him. All around pretty sick and pretty powerful magic. However, this didn't work out for very long, because one day her animals stopped listening to her and started to attack her. He got the better hand, because that's what happens when you're an antediluvian. And he turned her into a vampire. So the Baba Yaga is like a Nosferatu. That's the reason she looks like this and is honestly really powerful. But her magic then left her. And it's this part that makes me really try to think and consider what was the Baba Yaga before she became a vampire? Because she's using magic, like full on pretty powerful magic. Is she like a mage? Because like you might know if you follow anything Mage the Ascension, especially the stuff I do on my channel, there are 2 types of magic you can learn in World of Darkness. There's hedge magic, which is practice spells that you can just straight up learn from a book, or you are an awakened mage, like from Mage the Ascension, which you're essentially a reality worker. There is absolutely zero confirmation when it comes to her, so I like to play it safe. So it is my opinion that she is a hedge mage. I think she is just a really, really, really powerful one at like the 5000 BC. I think it's more realistic, but I can equally see her being a mage from Mage the Ascension. I just think if she was, there would be a stronger mention of her losing her avatar, or maybe even a mention of her in the Mage the Ascension source books, which I have not found. But the Baba Yaga was not a big fan of now being a vampire, especially she was super pissed at Absimiliad. She wanted him dead. So she started to work her new magic. She couldn't perform all of her cool nature magic anymore. It was fading. Her connection to the place she really cared about is disappearing. So she sided with the worm. Now, I'm gonna give you a brief rundown of Werewolf the Apocalypse lore. I do not have the time to go into all the nuance of the things I'm going to describe, so apologies, I'm generalizing a little bit. But in Werewolf the Apocalypse, it details that the cosmology of our world is made up of 3 spiritual entities of the triad. That is, the Wild, the Weaver, and the Worm. These 3 spirits embody creation, preservation, and destruction. When they're working in harmony, that is the life cycle. The Wild creates, the Weaver maintains it, and eventually it will decay and be destroyed to where it can loop again. However, the Weaver went a little crazy, and she locked the Worm away because she wanted her special things to be preserved. This made the Worm go crazy. And now the Worm is breaking out and striking at everything. It wants to destroy and corrupt even harder than its role, I guess, embodies it to do. So the Worm and just worm things are the main antagonist of Werewolf the Apocalypse. In Werewolf, you are essentially eco-terrorists, and you're fighting like the concept of pollution and corruption and decay. There's a lot of entities that embody this, either willingly or unwillingly. Willingly are the entities like Pentex. There are some werewolves who actually worship the worm, beings who are really down for the entire world being destroyed and decayed because they will gain something out of it, or they at least believe they will. And then there's the unwilling, which is humans. If you're doing too much corrupted acts, you littered too much, you like to murder, totally equal crimes apparently for the worm, because you are worm tainted, you're corrupted. Also vampires, you are a being of darkness, you are just naturally worm tainted. The thing that is interesting though about the Baba Yaga is she works with the worm, but she really doesn't embody a lot of the concepts. She's naturally corrupted because, you know, vampire, but she does like want to preserve her land. She cares about it. She's like deeply mournful that she lost this very deep spiritual connection with like Russia. She wants it back, but she knows she can never get it, so she kind of plays the evil hag. Now this is the part it's interesting, it's kind of noted. On one hand, Baba Yaga has said that she would never kill an innocent. She's kind of playing up the evil act. And then you read a bunch of the source books she comes from, which are a lot of Werewolf the Apocalypse stories and like adventure path, stuff like that, where she's just unrepentantly evil, and also mentions that she will kill you if you're corrupted in some way, but she views a piece of evidence for corruption as just being rude to her. So she will, you know, eat a child if they're a bit rude. The big thing though is at least notes that she is less worm tainted by the action she does. So it depends, I guess, what exact vibe you want for the Baba Yaga. I will say at least pre-torpor that I'm detailing now, I think she's a little bit better of a person. It's a little later that she becomes a lot more overtly evil. But she wanted to go kill Absimilian. So what she did is she summoned the lmao, which are 6 dragons, whole ass dragons that are worm tainted, and she brought them into our material plane and sent them to go murder Absimilian. This did not work. The dragons went out to try to kill him. He beat them pretty easily because they were also a little weak from the transition to the material world. He also put a super scary image of himself in the brains of all the dragons, so now they're spooked of him. However, 3 of those dragons are actually super loyal to the Baba Yaga. They're like, ride or die. She was pretty pissed that this didn't work, so she went out and summoned another one. This time, one of the talons of the worm. The talon of the worm are the remnants of this physical attack that the worm tried to put on Gaia. Essentially, the image is like it manifests a giant hand to, I guess, slap a Gaia. However, werewolves got to it first as it was forming and like going to attack, to where the werewolves ripped it apart. And each of those fingers is now a big, cool, scary monster and entity that's full worm corrupted, will like corrupt anything it touches. The specific talon she summoned was a character known as Koshi. I hope I'm pronouncing this Russian right, but this is actually another fairy tale character. Specifically, another Russian fairy tale character. It's basically a lich. This dude is a lich. He's super evil, like absolute evil dude who stored his death in like an object. I like that because it's like an opposite lich. Instead of storing your soul in like a phylactery, he's storing the fact that he died somewhere. But she sent out Koshi to go attack Absimilian, to where they fought, and apparently fought to a complete stalemate. And apparently both of them just kind of like, well, GG's, shook hands and left, because like there's no point in fighting. So the Baba Yaga now has a pact with Koshi to like help him. It didn't even get anything out of it. So yeah, she lost again in this fight. And it's through all of these actions she's taking that damned the Nosferatu for their execution order. The reason Absimilian wants to kill them is because the Baba Yaga betrayed him. And if you know anything from that Nosferatu video, you even slightly spurn Absimilian, I guess your entire bloodline dies. But her history would stop there and resume in 1990 because she went to torpor at some point. And eventually she would come out of her torpor, look at the more modern world, and think, I don't like this. I hate this. I want it gone. I want to take over my domain again. And she just wasn't a fan. So she decided to essentially wage war on everything. And it's this part, my criticisms and like how it was written start to eke in. So the first thing she did, she worked with all of her contacts, all the people that are in her employ, be it willing or unwilling, and went out to go make new connections for her armies. She formed 6 armies. These 6 armies, we had the Army of Night, which is vampires, the Armies of Conversion, which are ghosts, worm spirits, and werewolves, the Army of War, which is more werewolves, as well as some Pentex strike teams. We have the Army of Despair, which is Zame dragons, the 3 of them that were still loyal, the Army of the Arcane, which are blood-bound celestial chorus mages, and the Army of the Void, which is led by a demon known as Bizarrio. These 6 armies would go out and help her conquer Russia and everything around it. It used to be led by a bunch of Bruja, vampire-wise, and she killed them just utterly and completely. She owns Russia. And you understand, like, the Iron Curtain, she did that magically. She created the Shadow Curtain, which is in the Umbra. She made an entire curtain around Russia, locking it off supernaturally. There's no more messages coming in. It's harder to just understand anything happening in Russia. And umbral travel was now bad. You can't really do it. There actually were a bunch of technocrat constructs in the Umbra. When the Shadow Curtain went up, all 5 of them got destroyed immediately. This is the first part where I have some issues with how this is written, because I gotta be honest, this like Smash Bros. Everyone is here of the World of Darkness, it feels kind of weird because she woke up in 1990 and then it seems like she took a year or 2 to get all these contacts, you know, like mages and a demon, and like get full Pentex on her side. I'll be honest, I think it'd be a lot stronger of a storyline here for the war in Russia that would soon happen. The actual war in Russia is like the biggest conglomeration battle of werewolves of all the tribes. It was pretty massive, but there's a lot weaker of a crossover event than the Week of Nightmares that would come literally 10 years later. The Week of Nightmares is more interesting. I feel like you could do better if this is more reserved, and I think it's a little goofy that Baba Yaga, after being in torpor for so long, has all these new friends. Personally, I would have kept it like she has worm spirits, vampires under her control, and maybe some werewolves. I think keeping those 3, that feels totally fine. And I am going to kind of speed through this whole aspect of the war in Russia because it was a massive and playable event in World of Darkness, but a lot of it is just they fought a lot. Baba Yaga's forces are slowly being pushed back. She's becoming more and more and more on the back foot until 1998, where her armies were at their absolute lowest, and eventually the Baba Yaga would meet her final death because specifically of you. It's your fault. The event of her final death is shown in the story To Grandmother's House from this like anthology chronicle like book. As it goes, a coterie of vampires comes across Versilia. Unbeknownst to them, as they just see this little girl, she's actually a Nikutu. I hate this word. I hate it so much. Niktuku. Okay, she's one of those, and she's actually this very spooky entity that can shapeshift and take forms, and their favorite form to take is that of an innocent person with no supernatural power. Really funny, because in like the adventure book, it is like, oh, a big scary vampire guy who can transform into any shape and hide perfectly, a master assassin. And then they take every possible moment to look spooky and scary. Versilia, who is also, by the way, a Russian fairy tale character who dealt with the Baba Yaga, so that's fun. It all kind of ties in. When you first meet Versilia, she is like spookily standing in like a little bit of a clearing, and all the animal noise is gone because she's so scary the animals don't want to approach her, make noise, or deal with her. Totally not sus. Repeatedly, very not sus, until you guys eventually get to the Baba Yaga's house, to where she freaks out. Versilia pushes her way forward to the group. You can't do anything about it, and then she kills Baba Yaga, and you can't do anything about it. I don't like this story. I don't like this adventure book at all. The entire pre-written chronicle is literally cool thing happens with more powerful character, and the players stand around and watch. You literally can't affect any of it if you're trying to run it from the book. I think you can make a fun session out of it if you're a very, very good GM, but I do not like how many times it gives you a fake choice of either watch or die, or agree to something or die. I think it's just poorly set up, which, funny enough, is my critique of 1990 Baba Yaga. I really like her beforehand. I think she's very scary, very fun character. I like her like really deep magical ties with the worm. I think you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. The moment she pops out of torpor, it feels like it's really just kind of hand-waving, speed running to get her to the point of like this giant war, which I think you could make a dope story out of it. She is like the big bad evil guy of a werewolf event. Hell yeah, that's super fun. We get to go into like Russian folklore. Like, hell yeah, this is gonna be cool. Quite honestly, and I recommend you do this if you run Chronicles, feel free to just rewrite some stuff. This is something I would rewrite. Because I think you can even take her whole 6 army bullshit. You could make that more justified if you gave her more time and she like built up to it. I don't know, what if she woke up in the 1800s? What if she had a hand in a lot more Russian politics? Which apparently she did, but it was all through like very loyal vampires at her side while she was in torpor. I think it could be interesting that she's like the reason the Soviet Union came up. She was guiding all these political bullshit from the sides. Like, she was involved in World War I, World War II, like all that. And then in the background, she's ruling as like this very terrifying prince. Best word for it. Because the thing that makes the Baba Yaga a very fun character in like the hinting that it does is the idea of a vampiric overlord in this area shut off from all supernatural influence. She is in the middle of nowhere, middle of the woods. She has no visible presence, but she has this like tyrannic rule over everything. You try to roll in as like the Camarilla, suddenly the Baba Yaga is going to kill you. I like the idea of her being that terrifying force. Bit more true to like her original fairy tale, and I think the fun you can do with a Nosferatu like prince. All in all though, I really like the concept of her. It's just the thing you come across in lore where you read something as like a concept or an overview and you're like, this is awesome. Then you read how it's executed and you're like, okay, I have some notes. So yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. A huge shout out to my channel members who make all these videos possible. I'm super appreciative. And an even bigger shout out to my top tier channel members. That being Robbie Beckmeyer, Ultra Mega Jesus, and Czar Shadow. Absolute legends, all 3 of you. Thank you so much. But yeah, see ya.